Josh is the combination of my life.
The highlight of your career.
The highlight of after the birth of my children. The next highlight, not even my marriage.
Welcome to the Metacast. Today's topic is mentorship, and we're going to tell a few stories about what we've done, how we've done, why we've done, things like that. But before we do, I assume you're watching this on YouTube because it's so much cooler to see our shining faces and to watch Bob try and stay in his chair when he's laughing. That's always an enjoyable thing. And since you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the Metacast channel, because why not? It helps us. So help us by just clicking a couple little buttons. It makes a huge difference. So thanks for doing that, because I know everybody hit the pause button and just went and did that. So job well done, everyone.
Thank you. Throw us a bone. Appreciate it. Just one bone.
Just one. Yeah, that's it.
I want to add, you misspoke, Josh. So it's mentoring and coaching.
Oh,
A leader's
okay.
role in mentoring and coaching, and they're not quite the same thing. They intertwine a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that why don't we come in to right kick the tires and start talking about stories.
Okay.
So Metacasters, I'll start. You better sigh. So over a decade ago, coming up on 2 decades ago, I joined a company with a spring in my step and stars in my eyes. And that company was Teradata. And I joined them as an Agile coach. And lo and behold, in the morning, rose up a young whippersnapper from Ohio who thought he knew everything. And he still does.
Correct.
Correct. So, and I sort of graciously took that young man, probably not so graciously actually, under my wing. No, I don't know if I've ever, Josh. I don't think I worked with you enough. Maybe a little bit back then. There was some coaching going on, or mentoring, or whatever you want to call it. It was more so just trying to collaborate, like trying to help someone, share things that I knew. I was a little bit ahead of the curve on you. So what can I
and
share?
I was a punk
share
kid.
back?
Like it's. I look back like, geez, why didn't Bob just like walk away? Like, dude, what are you talking about?
Well, you know what
Not
the
what you
answer
say.
is. You know what the answer is, though, Josh. I think, at the risk of growing you even larger, but you're coachable. You're
Mhm.
mentorable. You're curious. And Metacasters, this is not just for Josh. I'm saying this for everyone. Like if leaders want to coach, you have to receive it, right? So if leaders are trying to mentor you and they're trying to coach you, it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. So Josh earned it, to be honest. He was freaking curious. He was energized. Still is all of these things. Positive. He was positive. He was trying to be additive. He wasn't whining about crap all the time. And you know, he was a coach. He was coachable. I think we've talked about that, maybe going back to your football to some
Yeah.
degree, right? Not entirely, Josh, but that was one. I think that was one of the reciprocal keys. If Josh would have been really like an obnoxious generation, whatever he is, X or Y or whatever he is, then I would have just said, great, go fly, be free, right?
AKA
But
flop.
right. No,
Yeah.
but he was curious and he wasn't full of himself. He was open minded. That doesn't mean that he didn't say, Bob, that's a stupid idea. But at the same time, he was generally open minded. And
Yeah,
so I
and
think
that's
that's the two
something.
sides. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Josh.
that's some coaching that I've received from Bob about mentoring is making sure that the effort is reciprocated. Because there are people that will come to you and ask to be coached or mentored or something like that, and the follow through isn't there on their end, and so you end up putting a lot into it and not getting anything back. So that's something that I've built a detector in pretty quickly of like, should I continue to invest time with this person or not? Otherwise, I would have just blindly gone down the path and do. I want to keep helping this person, even though they don't show up or whatever. But Bob would kind of coach me on that pretty quick, and that helped me narrow in on the biggest impact that I could make, because that's what we're all trying to do is, building software, building teams, helping people. We just want to see those things blossom and grow. So finding the person or people where your experience, your knowledge, whatever it might be, just your friendship even, can help them grow. That's what we're looking for. And so for me, I think Bob and I both operate within the mindset of like, hey, we can help, we want to help, but we want to make the biggest splash that we can. So that helped me waste less time than I probably would have.
Absolutely. I was trying to think of maybe another. Josh, why don't you share a story of you coaching or mentoring someone? I know at the Dude you did that quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a couple of stories there. The probably the most impactful one from a life perspective was, I was in the business advisory board for a school here in Raleigh, and was helping some of the sophomores there, review their resume, go through the hiring process, and come in and talk. So I would show up, I'd sit at a table in this giant gym, and different kids would roll in, they'd have their resume, and like I would ask them questions just like they were there trying to get hired. And a teacher took this young kid by the shoulders and sat him in front of me and said, I think the two of you should talk. And it's one of those times where you meet somebody and they're going to be special, but they don't know it yet. So I built a real connection with this person, and over the years just supported him in his growth as he tried to figure things out. He was a intern for me at various places, probably two or three different times, just to give him a taste of what the software and tech world was like. Uh, then he started to question, should I go to college or not? Is the money there? So we worked through that. I helped him apply to some of the really large schools that he wanted to go to, just to try and sort that out. And then he eventually hired me. A handful of years later, he had built a company and it was going really well, but it wasn't as organized as he would like. So he reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you come be the COO for my company?" And so we worked on that for a while and helped him learn a ton of lessons. It didn't end as beautifully as we had hoped, but I still am in touch with him, just saying like, "Hey, how are things going? You need any help? What's happening?" And he's always kind of like Bob said, he's just a total sponge. So anything that I can offer is absorbed really thoughtfully, um, processed, and then either put in action or not, whether he thinks it's right for him and what he's doing. So very similar, having a generationally younger person to be able to help kind of navigate all of the things that a career can create.
There's a couple of books I'm just starting to read now. I purchased both of them, but they're on coachability. And I know Metacasters we're talking about leaders, coaching and mentoring, and then we're focusing on the mentees and the coachees. We'll get we'll get back to the leaders. We need to get back there, but it's that they talk about that coachability, and to me that's the term that sort of encompasses what we're talking about, or mentorability. And so I think you have to have that to have a great coach. Like I don't think the coach can be impactful.
Yeah.
It takes a partnership actually, mentor mentee, coach coachee. It takes this strong partnership, and it's as much personality as it is like hard skills and things like that. I wanted to get back to the leadership side, Josh, and I want to make a bold statement,
Ooh.
but well, I don't know if it's bold, but I want to reference this guy who wrote a book and stuff, and then but I'm going to see how you react because I don't know. So Bill Joyner wrote a book called Leadership Agility. I've talked about it here, I think before. And in there, he has three levels, primary levels of maturity of leaders. And the highest level, if you will, most modern level, is a catalyst leader. And a
Hmm.
catalyst leader is an agile leader. And the prime directive for a catalyst, I'm putting a little words in Bill's mouth, but it's fair, I think, is you grow teams, you
Yeah.
grow organizations. Your prime, if there was a prime measure or the one measure that mattered, it might be, how many people have you grown into leaders? Have you increased the leadership capacity of the organization? Are you growing teams? Are they independent? Are they autonomous? Are they joyful? So it's wrapped up in that servant leadership. So coaching and mentoring for leaders, if you're listening to this, it's your freaking job. Right. I don't care, Bill Joyner, not Bill Joyner. Today's leaders, you need to be growing teams. You need to be growing a replacement for yourself. That's you want a metric that matters. How many people have you grown into leadership roles that could do your job? It's sort of that. It's that indirect putting yourself out of a job, and are you increasing that capability? And to me, the way you do that is mentoring and coaching complementary. Coaching is sort of one-on-one discussions and things, and to me, the mentoring is modeling and showing
Hmm.
someone how. Maybe think of it as apprenticeship. To me, a mentoring and apprenticeship are very close, but it's your job, and if you're not doing it, you're off base. You may be managing a freaking Gantt chart or managing a release train. I don't care. You need to be growing the teams. Josh, what do you think?
That to me, that's the only option. And not because you should be a leader, but because if you don't, you're just making your life harder. Then
Yeah,
you have to juggle and manage more things. So that seems to me like a no brainer, but I know for many people it's not. But that's the only way, the only path to sanity as a leader, as your responsibility grows, is you have to have teams and folks that can handle some of the hard stuff and just take it, and they're in good shape. Yes, you check in. Yes, they check in with you, and maybe you nudge and guide just a little bit, but you don't have to like own that. And that's where so many people get themselves into trouble, is they haven't created that trust, they haven't hired people they can trust, or whatever the options are. And so everything funnels through them, and then that stress, that burnout, that all of that happens. In reality, it's that person's fault. Maybe they didn't know, maybe they didn't get coached the right way.
right,
Hopefully, this
right.
episode helps, but that's the only path to sustainability. Otherwise, you're just going to get crushed. And I know that because I've done that. Like, I've crushed myself because I didn't do a good enough job of building an organization.
It's a succession plan. There's this old term that I heard back in the 70s and 80s. A leader, would work on. Now they would put a document together,
Yeah.
but it was a succession planning document. But hopefully, behind the plan was activity around who's going to replace me. How is the organization going to evolve? Part of that would be thinking about how am I growing people? Do I have the right people around me that I can mentor and coach to then sort of it was to replace me. It was actually something to get you to put yourself in a promotability position. It's hard to promote you if you're making all the decisions and you haven't grown an organization around you. So it's not only easier for the organization to survive and thrive, but it's easier for you to navigate the organization. If you're not the single problem solver as a leader,
Yep.
even though that feels great. I'm going to say another weird thing, Josh. I'm going to give percentages. The 80, I think, and I think I'm being kind. We said, oh, it's your job. I also think that there's not a lot of leaders doing it today. I
Yeah.
think probably 80% of them are not doing it. Maybe 20% are.
I think that's generous.
And I think it's being generous. So we have Metacasters, we have a curve. We have a pivot. We have a juxtaposition we're suggesting for effective leaders that you need to lean into coaching and mentoring. It's part of the prime directive.
Yeah, and if you're not getting that coaching, reach out. Bob and I, like, there's a reason Bob and I do what we do, why we do the podcast, why we offer the things that we do. So if you don't know how to make it happen, number one, reach out. We can probably point you to episodes that you should listen
Yep.
to that would get you there,
Yep.
or we can work together in some manner, some way. So the reason that Bob and I both believe there's such a gap there is that there's not enough modeling of what that looks like. So people don't know. And we're
Oh,
saying, hey, you should operate like this. But in reality, there's a 90% chance that you've never seen it, that none of the people that you've worked for have modeled the behavior that we're talking about. So if this sounds foreign to you, reach out to myself, Bob, anybody out there that you think can help get yourself there. But don't just listen to this and say, like, I can't do it. Find help.
yeah.
There's plenty of people that'll help.
Josh, you just landed this thing. I put down my last note to myself was, and get a coach,
Yeah.
right? So not just coaching and mentoring downward, and not just the coachee mentees. So there's some so participation dancing between the roles. But the other side is get a supportive coach or coaches for yourself.
Yep.
Not doesn't have to be us. The point is, go get some coaching.
Yep.
Have the willingness to have the willingness to not only create this dynamic that we were talking about between your coaching and the coachee, but to create that coachability dynamic with your own coach and just improve everyone. Don't beat
Yep.
yourself up. If you're in a leadership role, just get better. You can do it.
Daggone, Bob.
Hey, Josh,
Yeah.
I think let's stick a fork
Yeah, man.
at this wonderful turkey-ridden time of or whatever turkey steak turducken driven time of the year, uh, from from
Hold
beautiful
on, hold on,
downtown.
hold on, hold on.
But
Before we do this, I want to settle something. Dressing or stuffing? What do you call it?
stuffing.
Stuffing. Okay, cool. Me too.
I've heard dressing, but I'm a
Yeah.
stuffing kind of guy.
Yeah. Same thing. Same
Um,
thing. Okay, cool.
so from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina,
And beautiful downtown Fuquay Arena, North Carolina.
where the hyphen rules. I'm Bob Galen.
And I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake.
And bake.
Take care, y'all.